All right, KISS Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. We're just a bunch of KISS fans and we talk KISS. So come along for the ride. You've got nothing to lose. All right, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill. So we've got Lonnie, St. Louis KISS, sliding in while the intro was playing. Marcus Almighty.
Guilty as charged.
Greetings.
And Ken. Everyone has a busy life. So here's our Saturday, the start of our weekend, the fun of gathering and congregating to pontificate about all things majestically KISS. I want to thank everyone who's in the live chat for joining us. Europeans, how many Europeans in the chat who haven't forgotten that our clocks changed last week? And so now we're in that little twilight zone before everyone else changes. So Daniel will hopefully be along shortly to participate in the episode. I want to thank everyone, first of all, who supported the War Machine Project. It's been a couple of weeks since the guys did the episode without me. And of course, we did Martin Popoff interview last week. So my first opportunity to say thank you for your support or your interest. There should be some further news coming this week, and I'll be able to finally get started with promoting it a little bit more actively than I've been able to do so far. Sylvie Roos, Neil Guido, Andrew, Keep It Greasy, Chris Flood, G Chupko, Hipper Than Hell Records, that's a good name, Ronnie Parker, Kiss Vids. Thanks for joining us live. So chime in with those comments as we do today's episode, because we're going to be talking about the 50th anniversary of Destroyer. We're going to reframe our conversation around the album, around the refocused methodology, to give it a score, to assign it a number, so that we can measure it against the other albums that have been put through that process. Yeah, we've talked about this album many times, but you know what? I go to the bar with friends and I talk about shit that I talked about with them previously again. So here we are, friends talking about the same shit again. No alcohol involved. Other news. Thanks for tuning in to the episode last week of Martin Popoff. That was a really fun interview to do with him for his Kiss 76 book. Here's my copy. You can win this. Free copy. I'll draw it next Wednesday at noon Pacific. Just email kissfaq@outlook.com with "Give Me Destroyer." Easy as that. Random drawing if you want a free copy of the hardcover Kiss 76 book. So Ace World this week. The Herd Is On. One of the more melodic power, was it Power Station, I think, for that one, when he was going into a little bit more of the commercially accessible demos into the night dates from then as well. So check that out. And finally, KISS merch dropped this week for the anniversary of Destroyer. So let's talk. Let's start our conversation today around the Destroyer merch. First up, I've just selected a few things to go through on what was available. I know there was a bit of a cluster for members of the VIP fan club whose memberships were expiring. I let mine expire. I got the notification. I wasn't able to order anything, so I didn't bother trying anyway. So first up was the now sold out package. The picture disc, of course, is always a very popular item. Comes with a t-shirt, which is also available separately with a nice design on the front and the track listing on the back, a two-sided poster featuring what I had on my wall as a teen was the Chopper session photo, and on the other side is, of course, the album cover. I am going to get there. So I'm going to let this thing go. Lonnie, jump in with your thoughts on the merch. Did you peruse it, and did you drop any coin?
I perused it, and I did order just the colored vinyl. I'm not, I didn't do the picture disc. I mean, that's a lot, and I have some KISS expenses right now with Peter Criss in a couple weeks, and then Indy in a couple weeks after that. So it's just, that's a lot. But I didn't do the liquid filled Destroyer. That's a little strange, but to each their own. I did order the colored version, like the $40 like color it's like red with some gold mixed into it a little bit. I did order that, so they got me for one. I'm sure there are quite a few out there that ordered all three, but they got me for one.
Mark, how about you? Did this get interested in any way?
Well, I went and checked it out, just so I could be on the same page as you guys, more or less, right? As for what's out there. But no, I didn't buy anything. Believe it or not, I have like 9 different variations of Destroyer, a record that I don't like, but that was back in my early phase of collecting records. So, but no, I don't need another copy of it. Certainly not the urine-filled one that's going to be selling there. I don't need that. So, no, nothing's on my hit list. And even the T-shirts seemed a little, not impressive to me. So I passed on those as well. Yeah.
Look at this T-shirt.
That looks like
brown cover.
Somebody who doesn't know how to wash a fucking T-shirt properly. That's what
it's already worn out.
Wow.
It's already worn out.
It's going to end up that way anyway. But that's
mine never do. And I've had these shirts for a long time. I know how to wash them properly. They never turn out like that.
Okay. But to pay attention to detail, that's the Alive costumes, and that's a very unusual choice. Hey, I'm finding something positive to say about it, Mark. So it's kind of interesting. Oh, and sweatshirts as well. I mean, that's a pretty cool design with I like the larger S on the sleeve. I didn't check what the prices were because I wasn't in the market to buy anything. There's the brown caramel swirl.
It's not bad looking.
It's supposed to be purple and something. I
do like the gold font.
We'll see how it comes.
That's what my toilet looks like after a bad curry.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the Vindaloo special. So there's some interesting stuff in here. I'm just going to let this video play. It's nearly done. So we'll get to
there it is.
The septic tank swirl.
Yeah, that's
the outhouse remains
mistake.
Yeah, I gotta say, I am not into these liquid-filled gimmicks. I don't think in 30 years it's going to be full of crumbs, or it's going to have leaked all over all your records. I have no idea, but it is not an appealing option to me at all. But you know what? If you're into it, go for it. It's very cool. There you go. This video is just about done. So and don't forget the bundle, the Dutch picture sleeve, which is a very cool one. That is one of the picture sleeves that I was never able to obtain when I was collecting singles because of the price. So it's cool that they're using that design for a reissue. I am not sold on the 7-inch vinyl treatment for that one, but that's personal taste. So at least they're doing stuff, and that design is something, and for Kiss, anything is better than nothing because the fans complain endlessly when there's a delay with anything.
And you forgot to do it inside out there, Chris. You have to inside out the T-shirt.
Yeah, so belt buckle is now sold out, and the vinyls are hilarious. There we go. So that's the merch. Did we just lose Daniel again? I thought he was here.
I know he was.
All right.
So they still find a way to screw things up on Kiss Online. So
you're surprised?
I got the message saying, "Oh, the new merch is up."
Tell us about your day.
New merch is up. I said, "Oh, okay, great. I'm gonna go in. I have my VIP. I rejoined the army or whatever in February, just last month. So I said, okay, I'm gonna go in and see what they got. What's up?" And I get in there and I check it out, and I said, okay, here's the picture disc and color vinyl stuff. I thought, okay. So I go to, click on the, like, for instance, the picture disc, and there's no add to cart, buttons or anything. So I said, okay, maybe I need to log out, go back in, maybe, or they're not ready yet. Still nothing. And I'm like, what the heck's going on? I said, why did they do that? And then, so I check out and I go on, like, Kiss My Wax over there, Jason. And he's saying he was able to order it. But then the key thing was he renewed his KISS Army membership exactly earlier that same morning. And says, I said, that doesn't make sense. Why would they do that? So anyway, I emailed KISS on the KISS store and all that stuff, and I ended up ordering another KISS Army membership to go order, because I didn't know if it was like the picture just was going to last or not, the full day or not. So I did that, and I did get like Lonnie, the colored vinyl too. I would have bought probably the filled one had they not put it in the sewage inside that disc. I would have had colors of yellow and red and black or something like that inside that disc. So I think that was a big miss on the filling of the whatever it is. It's a novelty, of course, and I'm probably better off not ordering it anyway.
Yes, you
thinking
probably
about
are.
it. And so I break it, it's gonna look like I had an accident in my house or something, and the wrong kind of accident. Anyway. So, the whole thing was a mess. So I emailed them again and said I wanted a refund because I shouldn't have to go back. And there was many others who had, current memberships that could not get in there. So
you know what else is
finally,
interesting?
yeah,
Sorry.
one thing at 5:30 that evening, then they finally said, "Oh, sorry guys, it's fixed now." They sent an email to the. I was like, well, it's a little too late now. But anyway, I'm trying to get $50 back from them.
But you know what else I
give
noticed
money
too?
Back. This takes your money. They don't give money.
You know what's interesting too is that also there's that little box there. You know what the button says? I agree to blah 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 blah, and you have to hit that check mark thing. If you don't check that, then the button isn't active.
You can't even do it.
Yeah. Really, for some people who maybe not realize that immediately, you're sitting there going, why can't I order one? And then later you have to kind of figure out if you don't click that, then
it had nothing to do with that.
Make things harder. Right. Like make it easier for your customers,
They're locking you in. Yeah. Anyway.
Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you.
It's a time change.
I'm sorry I'm late because it's all because of your system there with the daylight saving times.
We're trying to change it.
I thought I had an hour to go, but I didn't. So thankfully Ken sent me a message. So yeah, that saved me. Otherwise I would have been doing other stuff. So nice to hear you guys talking about what you've bought. And that was not me burping. Actually, I bought something this week. Have you seen this one?
No.
The back is pretty cool. Wait a minute.
Oh no! Don't take off your clothes.
This isn't that kind of podcast.
That is cool, actually. I like that. Wouldn't buy it, but
not bad.
Wouldn't buy any of that stuff, but there we go.
No liquid filled project. I would never subject my supporters to that kind of nonsense.
Yeah, so Daniel, we've just gone through the merch drop from the other day. Did you look at it, see anything that caught your interest for comment?
Not really.
All right, well, let's get it.
One other thing on the liquid filled, Tom, Jermaine, or who's ever doing that, if you're going to do it, Jermaine, sorry. Kiss Alive 2, if you're going to do that, do it in real Kiss blood. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of anniversaries coming up, so hopefully there's lots of things in the works. Who knows? Wait and see. Again, the Pacifica buckle, my last comment on the merch, I looked at the image on the back of it, and it still had the original, I believe, 1970-something Pacifica stamp on it.
Yeah, Pacifica, it still says that.
Yeah, so I hope there's some way for collectors, because original belt buckles are kind of a high-end collector item, for it to be differentiated, because if someone gets ripped off buying an old one thinking it's a new one, or well, it'd be the vice versa.
Someone's going to try to pass it off like that.
Yeah, so that would be my only concern, that everything that's a recreation of a past collectible item needs to be differentiated from that in order to ensure that no one gets ripped off. And there'll still be people who get ripped off because people just are people. People are people. So what can you do?
Trying to drive the price down.
Yeah, let's get into the 50th anniversary of Kiss Destroyer. It stands as one of the few albums with a multi-platinum certification at this date, and those are just the official stats, along with Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits and Kiss Alive 2 are the only multi-platinum Kiss albums in the catalog, which is really rather shocking. But since we've talked about this album many times before, can you just briefly recap your introduction and first impressions of Destroyer way back in the day, just to give us a starting point for today's episode? Mark, why don't you go first?
My earliest recollection of this album, and I have a feeling that this sort of informed my decision down the line, because as everybody knows, my older sister was quite important in my early musical development, and they were huge Kiss fans in the building, and when they got Destroyer, and she still reminds me about that story too, that when the one guy got it, he was like so almost in tears how much he was disappointed. He was like, "What happened, man? They sound so different." Like he totally didn't like it. He was, they were used to the Hotter Than Hell and Dressed to Kill side of things, and then all of a sudden the overly produced record comes out and they weren't used to it and they didn't like it. But for me, I didn't really give any way or bother at that time. I was pretty young. When I got it much later, I found that my opinion was the same as theirs. Because at that point I really liked Rock and Roll Over and stuff like that, and that was one of the records I got later in my Kiss collecting when I got into them hardcore, and it just didn't connect with me. I'll keep it polite for now, but it didn't connect with me, this record, at all.
Are you foreshadowing something, Mark? Lonnie, what about you?
You're muted, Lonnie.
Muted.
Somebody had to do it.
I could tell what you said there. Okay.
Destroyer was my introduction to Kiss. My brother had the cassette copy when we were kids in the early 80s, and Destroyer is very special to me because of that. I always get tagged as the revenge guy on the show, and rightfully so, but Destroyer is probably my second favorite Kiss album. So Mark and I should have a pretty good exchange today. It should be
Oh yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah. Daniel.
My first recollection is going over to a friend's house, going through his records and finding this album, and the image on the cover, which is on the back of my hoodie now, is still one of my favorite Kiss images of all time. I think it's awesome. Kiss coming from a destroyed town, and the title is so perfect. And I do like the back cover as well. So I think the package was what, got my attention. And when I found the record, I had already heard a few of the songs, because one of my first cassettes was Kiss Killers, which was pretty, easy to find over here in Europe, in Scandinavia, and cheap as well. So I had listened to that one. So I knew most or a lot of the songs, and but when I listened to the full album, I still liked it. And what surprised me was the sound quality was so much better than some of the other 70s albums I had listened to. So I actually liked it right off the bat.
Ken?
Yeah, for me, when I got into Kiss, Live 2, and then I got double platinum probably next. And so I think it was a few down the line after that where I got like Love Gun and Rock and Roll Over before that. And then I was working my way backwards, I think. And when I got this Destroyer, it was kind of, to me, it was a shock to me, the sound based on what I was listening to from the other stuff. I even enjoyed Detroit Rock City from double platinum better than the Detroit Rock City on Destroyer. I don't know. It just was better to me. So yeah, it was kind of weird. That was my introduction, is just going back and finally getting to, just buying each album, trying to build my collection of Kiss over time at the beginning. And yeah, that album was kind of a weird thing for me. I thought it was kind of something, it didn't seem like the heavy gritty stuff that they were doing that I was enjoying on their, like Rock and Roll Over, or I know Love Gun is not as gritty or anything like that, but still it was heavier than Destroyer.
Yeah, I think for me, because of becoming a fan and onboarding so many albums at the same time, it was hard to really differentiate between them. I'd heard the double platinum before I had the album, that's for sure. I'd heard, Love Gun before I heard it, or very close proximity. I had no concept of Alice Cooper. I had no concept of Bob Ezrin, or a concept album, or a highly produced one. As a Beatles fan at that age, I didn't differentiate between Sgt. Pepper's and Rubber Soul versus Beatles for Sale and the earlier albums. I really didn't have any of that sort of musical context by which to weigh it. It was simply something that sounded very different. With having a ballad, and a ballad stuck out for me. So it was just Kiss songs. It was a bunch of Kiss songs with a really cool cover. So there was no depth to my analysis as a 14-year-old first hearing it. It was like, there's some good songs on here, and there's songs that are not as good. And very little has changed in 40 years for me. The whole refocus methodology we've talked about, but if you're new to the show, we look at the album from an overview of production, cohesiveness, cover art and packaging, single selection, and taste. And then we look at all the songs individually according to lyrics, melody, and taste, and we give them points. And then we come up with Julian math, and then I decide where I want it to fit in the election results after I've purged everyone else from
I see.
Yeah, there's no shenanigans here. But let's start with the production of the album. Kiss had worked with an assortment of producers prior to Destroyer: Eddie Kramer, Richie Kerner, Kenny Kerner, and Richie Wise, and Neil Bogart. And of course, each of them had their own kind of perspective. None of them were Bob Ezrin. They were all operating on completely different levels. Neil Bogart was a bubblegum pop meister. Richie Wise and Kenny Kerner were very much meat and potatoes production, very kind of old school to a certain extent. And Eddie Kramer was more an engineer than a producer, in the sense of how we now accept the role of a producer to be. So Daniel, how did you score the album in terms of production?
I gave it a 4 out of 5. I think it sounds good to this day. If I compare it to Hotter Than Hell or the first album, I think it's way better sounding. I kind of like the production on Dress to Kill. It's sort of bare and raw, I like that one. But Kiss was ready for the next step, and Bob Ezrin was the guy to help them take that step. So I think a lot of the songs on this album wouldn't have been as great without Bob. Just listen to the demo of Detroit Rock City and compare it to what ended up on the album after Bob Ezrin put his touch on it. I mean, it's a big difference. And another great decision Bob did was to let Gene Simmons sing God of Thunder instead of that. You've heard that demo as well that Paul did with God of Thunder. It's nowhere near the classic that it became. And then I know some guys on the panel may have some other feelings about the production. For example, the kids in God of Thunder, I think that was a great idea. Eerie, scary. Still, when I listen to that song, it's almost like listening to some Norwegian bands from the 90s who were really crazy and burning down churches. I like the vibe of that studio recording. And I mean, you can't deny the power of Detroit Rock City, and that solo that Bob Ezrin pretty much sang to Ace or played on a keyboard or whatever it did, and Ace copied it. So I think Bob Ezrin made them take another step. Maybe it was a step too far at the time, so I can understand that I can, or someone who had listened to the previous albums, it was kind of strange, the sound of this album. But for me, I had listened to, Creatures of the Night, Destroy, Dress to Kill, Hotter Than Hell, and the 80s albums, I think, before I heard this one. So I didn't mind them sounding different. I was used to Kiss having different sound, a different sound on every album almost. So I think this was a step in an exciting direction, and I think it's one of their best albums of all time.
Lonnie, production.
Well, being that Destroyer was my introduction to Kiss, to me, especially as a young kid, this is what Kiss sounded like. So there wasn't this big shift from Dress to Kill to Destroyer. To me, this was Kiss, and this is what a Kiss record sounds like. And I agree with Daniel that Bob Ezrin did some great things to this record. You do listen to that demo of Detroit Rock City, or Paul singing God of Thunder, or you listen to the demo of Beck, which became Beth, and how we shaped that, how we helped mold that song, and and the kids on God of Thunder, the choir on Great Expectations, and I'm sure that song's not going to rank as high as others when we get into it, but I think Bob did an amazing job with this record, and I think that I agree with Daniel that Kiss was ready for the next step, and Bob helped get them there, and just molded these songs into the classic Kiss songs that we know. I mean, the first time I saw Kiss, they played 6 songs off Destroyer. I mean, just this album is one of the biggest reasons why I love Kiss, and why a lot of Kiss fans love Kiss. And without Bob's production, I don't think Destroyer isn't nearly what it is today, and neither are these songs.
Yeah, this comment kind of nails it. Bob is more of an artist. Bob is a magician in some senses. And I think what you get when Bob produces an album is more than being an Alice Cooper album. It's a Bob Ezrin album. And that sometimes becomes a little bit too much. That there, in the 70s at least, in listening back to all of these albums, it becomes a fingerprint of Bob Ezrin touching an artist. Now, there's no debating what he did for the material that we can hear on the Destroyer box set. Those magnographic demos, as Lonnie just mentioned, are dire in comparison with their finished forms. Those would not be serviceable as an album. If they recorded all of that, they'd be taking a massive step back. So Bob's production, what did I score the production? I give it 4 out of 5, because there is a little bit over the topness that comes into play for my taste. Yeah. Some folks in the chat have already mentioned the kids, the walkie-talkies, the sound effects, all the aural additions that make it so much more of a product become a little bit overly pervasive when it's on everything. Everything's got that sprinkle of seasoning on it. Nothing can just be kind of left alone, and when it is, it stands out like a sore thumb. And I think everyone knows which song I'm talking about. You certainly will later. So I think the production's fantastic. Bob is a magician, there's no doubt, when he's thinking about listening in headphones, and that's still probably the best way to listen to this album. And also the material on the box set. So if you don't have the box set, it's very much recommended. Ken, production.
Yeah, production. To me, I understand there are people who got this is their first or introduction to Destroyer, and it's going to be a great thing for them. For me, it's not a great thing. I thought it was strange. I thought it was weak, kind of, when going from Rock and Roll Over back to Destroyer, and it's like, where are the guitars? It's like, what's going on here? I do agree that Bob Ezrin is a great producer, a great arranger and songwriter. all that stuff is great that he did on that part of it, but the actual, I think, kind of dumbing down the sound in a way, I want to say. I mean, he makes it more a musical theater kind of sound than, it's more of a concept kind of album sound than anything else, I think. So that's what bothers me about it. I always think Kiss should sound live on record, and that's why I say Rock and Roll Over is kind of the example there for me, at least. It's kind of lost that dangerousness to them, I think, and sound wise. Though the songs are great, the songs are there. He helped Detroit Rock City and all the songs. I'm sure he had a hand in making them sound better, which is good. The songs, I'm not ranking the songs. I'm ranking the whole album as a general thing and production. So production, I give it a 2.5, 2.5. Because I think that's not how. Because I remember the shock of putting that on. I was like, why is it so low, or whatever. It just seemed.
You're a smart man, Mr. Keenan.
I wanted the heavier side of Kiss. So anyway, that's what it is. 2.5 because of that kind of production. Nothing against his musical contributions and the solos and everything else he did. I think are great, but on the other half, I think it could have been done differently.
Yeah, there's no way that the second movement of Beethoven's Sonata Number 8, Pathétique, is making it into a Kiss album without Bob Ezrin. All right, Mark, I've left you till last. Unleash the fury.
I know you did that on purpose. Quite frankly, I'm surprised that Ken has such a similar opinion to me. But it's nice to have somebody on Team Mark for once when it comes to this record. But let me just start with a couple things. First off, I'm going to say Bob Ezrin is a great producer. Okay, there's a lot of records that he's done that I love. Alice Cooper records, Pink Floyd stuff. The Pink Floyd stuff that he's done is some of my favorite Pink Floyd stuff. I'll be right out there and admit that it's great. Okay, but this whole magician thing and stuff like that, I mean, the only thing that magical that he's done is made everybody believe that this is a good record. Now, the thing about this record that I find fascinating is that a lot of people were saying that, when you have Bob Ezrin working on a record, it becomes a Bob Ezrin record. But I don't want to buy a fucking Bob Ezrin record. I want to buy a Kiss record, not Bob Ezrin. Go make your own fucking solo album then if you want that. I'm not interested in what you want. I want to listen to them. I want to hear their music, their ideas, not you coming in and completely tossing and turning and making it whatever. Now, look, a lot of those songs I do like Detroit Rock City, one of my favorite Kiss songs, but just not on this album. Kiss Alive 3 is one of my favorite versions of Detroit Rock City. Absolutely fantastic. And another thing that everybody seems to glide over here, and I made sure I wrote this down, that everybody talks about how, the Magna Graphics demos, we don't, look at that. If they would have did that, it would have turned into a pile of crap. Yeah, that's true. They weren't very good in those forums. But we don't know for sure how they would have ended up when they were all said and done. That's just how they were at that time. But the bottom line is the same guy, Bob Ezrin, who gets all this credit for reshaping that song and making it the masterpiece that it is, was also the same person that okayed that horrific single edit of that same fucking song. Not that much magical goodness on that, was there? I mean, he okayed that. Remember that. So that's one of the most shittiest versions of the song I've ever heard in my life. Makes no sense at all how he cut that up. And yet they released it. Good work, Bob. I gave the production on this a 2. Okay. I could have easily said 1, but I think because overall, I still think that he's a great producer. It's the things that always have bothered me about him is the fact that records that he works on ends up being just like these people in the comment section are saying. They're Bob Ezrin records. Well, again, I don't want a fucking Bob Ezrin record. I want a Kiss record. That's why I like Kramer better. that's why I liked even when Bogart did it. Because Bogart is he just does his little things. What's going to get on the radio? What's going to sell me? He focuses it in from a different area, but he lets them do the things that they wanted for their songwriting and stuff like that. Oh yeah, I love the timer there. But hey, you wanted my opinion, you're going to get it now. Okay, so and you're getting it. So the fact of the matter is, I think that he's a good producer. Everything about him as a producer, he has a lot of talents. He's very good with what he does, but he just never should have been a Kiss producer.
Yeah, Mark, I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
I know, I understand. We're all friends here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's move on to cohesiveness. How well all the songs on the album kind of go together. I don't know whether you want to. We're going to keep out the outro and the intro, when we do the actual scoring of the songs, as we're talking about the songs. But how does Destroyer work as an overall product with all those component pieces, Lonnie?
I like it. I love it, actually, from start to finish. The cohesiveness of it. I think the production of it is consistent throughout. I know we have, it slows down with the ballad towards the end. But I love how the cohesiveness of the album with how it starts with Detroit Rock City and just merges into King of the Nighttime World, and it just keeps going from there. I like the cohesiveness of the album, and you can definitely tell, the side one, side two, you can definitely tell where it picks back up with Flaming Youth to kick off side two, though. And then how it ends. I think I like it. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I like the way the album flows. You guys are probably I'm sure some of the panel is going to disagree with me, but I'm not going to have many bad things to say today.
Okay. I gave it the fewest points, 3 out of 5, because of unfinished, to my ear, songs like Flaming Youth and Sweet Pain. Sweet Pain is that big. It's like stubbing your toe on a door on that album for me. That just ruins the cohesiveness. Yeah, and that's the whole point. And again, there's going to be different opinions on it. There's so much effort put into songs like Detroit Rock City and King of the Nighttime World. That 1-2 punch is absolutely magnificent. Yeah. And then you have a similar sort of effort put into Do You Love Me and parts of Flaming Youth and Beth. And Sweet Pain is just like the red-haired stepchild, just left in the corner. We better comb their hair, but all their clothes are dirty and everything else, Raggedy Ann. And it just kind of ruins that cohesivity for me. So there we are. Everyone else disagrees, so it's me. Ken, cohesiveness.
Yeah, I gave it a 4 out of 5. I think everything, fortunately or unfortunately, sounds the same. Like it all belongs together. Production-wise, there's no jarring changes. I mean, you can call Beth a little bit jarring because that kind of is a real drop-off on that side, but not drop off in quality. I think it's a good song, good enough song. But I just think, everything makes sense as far as the flow of it and everything else. So it's 4 out of 5. It all belongs together one way or another, I think, on the same album because of the sounds of the production. So,
Mark, cohesiveness.
Well, I gave it a 4 because I think from song to song to song, it does go well. There's nothing in there for the exception of like what Julian brought up with Sweet Pain, which I do agree is the sore thumb song of the album in that sense. I look at it more as like a little bit of a speed bump, more like it's like a little like whoa, like when that song comes up. But other than that, I think from song to song to song, it goes relatively smoothly. I mean, even the introductory piece, which I think is, we'll get to that after, but even that doesn't really bother me when I'm talking cohesiveness, okay? Because I kind of understand what he was trying to do with that, and I think it works well in that sort of a flow.
Lonnie.
I did it.
I already got you.
Didn't I?
Yeah, sorry. Daniel.
I gave it 4 out of 5, like most of the other guys. I can't get that image out of my head that Julian mentioned, the red-haired stepchild. What's with the hate for the red-headed people, the redheads? Well, anyhow.
Ginger.
Ginger, yeah. But I think I have to agree to some degree with Julian about the fact that there are a few songs that doesn't really fit. They don't fit the mold, so to speak. I have at least 2 songs that I would like to see, done a bit differently. Otherwise, this could have been a real masterpiece. But there are a few stinkers where they, mixed up the will to make it beautiful, and the lyrics goes in a completely different direction. So it's like a mishmash, and it doesn't work. So it's close to a 5 to me, but there are a few stinkers, a few red-headed stepchilds running around that messes up the whole thing.
No offense to any red-headed stepchildren, of course.
You hate them.
I do not. This should be a much less divisive part of the ranking, and it's the cover art and packaging. And there is some of the packaging of the Japanese gatefold, of course, fantastic artwork. It's iconic, and that's not hyperbolic to kind of say that is an iconic album cover, an iconic design. Every element of it, with the printed inner, the fan club being advertised, and it's all pre-Glickman marks, which is all the more astounding. Ken, get us started with your thoughts on that while I show the 2 covers.
Yeah, the artwork is, fantastic. The album cover, the comic book kind of cartoonish kind of comic book thing, superheroes kind of thing is really cool. I mean, it's just great artwork. It's iconic. I did give this whole thing, I think, a 4. What did I give it out? A 4 out of 5. It's not perfect because of other reasons. I think the back cover, I can see it's kind of just an extension of them without without Kiss on that image. But that's okay, I guess. No one looks at the back cover that much. The other thing is the inside. I dinged it. I do like it for the Kiss Army logo, which is fantastic. And then the only problem, I just took off one for, they only give you lyrics to Detroit Rock City.
Yeah.
And why not everything? I remember pulling that out. I go, well, where's the lyrics to everything else? It's just Detroit Rock City. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. It's like, put all the lyrics. I always like having the lyrics, but I don't know why they did not. They could have made that logo smaller and put the lyrics or whatever. That's the only thing that kind of bothered me about it. But otherwise, great album cover, great concept on the cover. So,
Mark, cover art.
Okay, so when I do this, I thought of the whole thing just like you said. I gave this a 3.5, mainly because I think that front cover. Well, I think Ken Kelly has done fantastic stuff. I love Love Gun. That album cover has always been one of my favorites that he's done. But this one, and I think I might have mentioned this once before, that I've never liked the way the guys look on this cover. I mean, I don't mean the costume. The costumes all look fantastic and everything, but the way they're standing, it looks like if you were to take if this would have been like a photograph of them, the next 2 seconds after this was taken, I would have expected them to see them on their rear ends with their feet in there. It almost looks like they're falling. Like none of them are sure-footed. All of them have their one foot in the air. It looks like they're falling. It doesn't look like usually when you do a band shot, you're kind of sure-footed. You have your feet planted on the. They look like they're gonna fall over, like they're falling off of this mound of stones. I've never thought this being a very well thought out image. But other than that, I think I love the logo and the Kiss Army thing on the inside. Luckily for us in Canada, we had a gatefold cover for it, so it opened up like that. I don't think the US ones had a gatefold.
No.
But I love that layout. I love the rest of it. I do agree with Ken that they should have probably put more lyrics in than just the one song, but they were probably trying to push that as the big song, right? It does express action. The action of falling over. That's what it expresses in this, because it doesn't look like any sure footing at all. You're telling me that looks like they're on sure footing? Like even those rocks look like they're barely look at the one that Paul's standing on. In a second, that thing's gonna move and he's gonna fall on his rear end.
Oops.
That's like, it does. Look at it. I mean, come on, So,
Put some
but
banana peels underneath it.
other than that, I think it's a pretty well done cover. I don't have a problem with the back cover. It's an extension of the whole piece, and that's usually how album covers are, made. But yeah, other than that, I
think it's great.
Yeah, other than the fact that they look like they're gonna fall on their asses, it's a great album cover.
Daniel, cover art and packaging.
Rock and fall over.
Rock and roll.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah,
rock and fall over.
Rock and fall. I have to disagree a bit with what Mark said, unfortunately, but I think this is one of the most iconic pictures of Kiss in history, and that's why I bought this hoodie the other day, because I think this is a great picture of Kiss. And you have to think about the ones who are going to buy the album, youngsters, 10-year-olds. I mean, this is close to Marvel superheroes. This is as close as you get from a musical artist. So I think this is probably one of my favorite Kiss covers of all time. So I don't know if they fall over when they land from jumping from the stones. I don't really care, because I love especially that image of Gene. I think is brutally perfect. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. So, and Ken had a point. It would have been cool if they had included all the lyrics. But I mean, the cover, and I also like the back cover as well. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this, and it's very unfortunate that they strayed away from this sort of covers. I like the Rock and Roll Over cover as well, Love Gun, but then they dropped the ball, sort of. I guess Paul wanted to be known as Paul, the real Paul Stanley, not the cartoonish Paul Stanley, because they could have done this. If you guys recall, when they were going to release Sonic Boom and they hired the artist and everything, and you were, you think, wow, we're getting a classic cover. And then I think it was Paul Stanley that told the artist it has to look like the real people, no cartoonish
he overruled
crap.
it.
So that destroyed that cover. That was, a missed opportunity. But the cover gets 5 out of 5. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this.
Sure.
Lonnie, how about you for the cover art and packaging?
Daniel's 100% right that it's a 5 out of 5. It's absolutely perfect album cover, and I think Mark is judging this with his ears because he doesn't like what's the music on the inside.
No, I think it's good.
No. I let you talk. Hey, I let you talk for like 20 minutes.
That's right.
So give me 30 seconds here. It's the most iconic image of the band. It's the most iconic cover album that Kiss has, and it's a still shot. It's not an action shot. And when you look at that image, there are more Kiss t-shirts with that on the cover than probably any other Kiss t-shirts ever made. Again, I let you talk. Shut up for 5 minutes. And people in the chat are agreeing that it's actually one of the best covers that they've ever put out, and it's better than it's right there with Love Gun. I love the back. I love the Shout It Out Loud. I'm with Ken. I like the Kiss Army on the inside. It makes you feel proud when you open it up. It's everything that you want a Kiss album cover and package to be. And I agree with Ken that, I wish there was some more lyrics maybe on the inside of it, but that's not enough for me to come off my 5 out of 5 because it is a perfect album cover.
Yeah, I gave it 4.5 out of 5. I remember the first time I found the vinyl and pulled it out and saw the sleeve and the blue Bogart label and all of that. It was like very cool just to see the logo, the Kiss Army logo. I'm like, that's me now. That's me, you know. So I felt a part of the album at that point. The cover, I mean, come on, it is iconic in terms of its design. But look at these faces. I have never been a big fan of Paul's pouty lips and Gene's expression on that, compared with the blue, where you can see Paul looks. I think Paul looks way better on that. Peter and Ace barely changed from the original rendering, and I like Gene better on this one. It just becomes a bit overemphasized on there, and the pose is really weird.
Pouty lips.
Picker.
It is such a great cover, no matter what. I can nitpick minor things like that, but it's a stunning album cover, and rightfully so. All right, let's move on.
A quick question, Julian. I've heard rumblings that some people say that the original cover was done way after, the one that ended up on the album.
No, I did a video for the members only channel talking about that, using those two images that I've just been flipping backwards and forth between, and there are pictures of Ace standing in front of it, the brown cover. So it was hung on I think All Coins' wall. Go back and check out that video, and if I haven't made it public, I need to edit it again to take out all the membership stuff. But there were three. Basically, there was the sketch, I think that's in History or the Butterfield's auction. There's the brown, and then there's the blue. And then he did do later re-renderings, I think, that were used for Resurrected and all that. So there are multiple versions of it, along with the sketches that Ken Kelly used to sell. Great cover, no matter what. Single selection. So there were essentially 3.5 singles for this album. Flaming Youth was number 2. Shouted Out Loud was number 1. Detroit Rock City, we'll talk about that in a second. And then it was quickly flipped around and becomes Beth. So, Mark, get us started on single selection for Destroyer concisely, because we're going very long here.
Okay, I won't be very long. I'm just going to just say, though, that the Rock and Roll Over cover is far better than any other album cover and more reproduced on artwork on T-shirts. Anyways, back to this. I think the singles, I gave it, I think I gave it a 2, was it? Yeah, I think I gave it a 2 out of 5, mainly because I just, I don't think that any of the songs really would have impressed me enough to buy the record. I mean, Flaming Youth is not one of my favorite songs. Out of those two that you mentioned earlier, I think Shouted Out Loud is the one that I like the best out of it. I mean, and just to keep Julian happy and to keep this concise, you already know what I think of that piece of turd Detroit Rock City single. Why they did that, I have no idea. It didn't help. And flipping it over, while it did help them sell the record, I just never liked Beth. It's just not. I'm not a ballad guy. Just like another one here on our panel, Mr. Daniel said as well. He's not a ballad guy. I don't care how many piece orchestra you put on it. It's just still not going to connect with me, and I don't like it. I think the lyrics are just, ugh, and it's just not my thing. So really, the only song out of the singles that I think that were decent was Shouted Out Loud. So out of that, I just gave it a 2 out of 5. There you go. Concise and quick.
Daniel.
I think Detroit Rock City is a great pick. I think Shouted Out Loud is a great pick. I'd like to see God of Thunder as one of the picks. And that's the only downside to me. When it comes to Beth, I think Beth was more for the non-Kiss fans, and it brought in a lot of other people. And that was very important for the band to grow. So thinking like that, I think it was a great pick as a single, even though it was on the B side. But it did a lot for Kiss. But I would have liked to see God of Thunder as and it's unfortunate they hadn't done videos by this point in time, because there are some cool videos for those Rock and Roll Over singles or whatever. They record them on a TV show, and then they were later used as videos. I would have loved to see a full production of a video of Detroit Rock City, God of Thunder, and Shout It Out Loud. That's very unfortunate that it was a bit early, so they aren't around, unfortunately. But I think the picks are all right. I gave it 4 out of 5.
Lonnie, singles.
I think that the singles were good. I mean, Flaming Youth. You can see where they're going with that as a rallying cry coming out of Rock and Roll Over. Same with Shout It Out Loud. And Detroit Rock City. While I agree that the single edit of it is not good, but the Detroit Rock City as a single, and then they happenstanced into having Beth on the B-side, which really propelled the record. So I think they absolutely got it right with what they put out, because the singles and the last single with Beth really helped propel the record into what it became.
All right, made it back in time for my turn. All right, so singles choice. Shout It Out Loud screams Bogart. Power pop. Getting that out as a single straight out of the gate. They rush released it. Great pick. Flaming Youth. Why the hell not? I mean, I don't have a problem with that. Detroit Rock City. Apart from the butchering of that edit, which really neuters it and destroys it in trying to make it fit that format, if they could have done one that wasn't so mixed with the audio effects and edit it more effectively, then I probably would be fine with that. Beth, I think, is brilliant because, and what I was just fact checking was Aerosmith had re-released Dream On at the beginning of 1976. So I think its chart rise and becoming a hit around the time that Destroyer is released helps that become a B-side down the road. And for everything that goes with flipping the record over and that buying a new audience for the band, whether you like Beth or not, Beth is the song that transforms Kiss from rock stars to superstars. It really defined the success of Destroyer, which to that point was a sub-million seller.
Beth ain't no Dream On, but it worked for Kiss.
So
Dream On, what a great song.
That's almost like the More Than Words of that era. It took a band that was supposed to be a rock band and a ballad saved them.
But it did the same thing for Aerosmith. You have to remember, Aerosmith and Kiss both have the ballads that made them, and they both have the rock
I'm not
songs
disagreeing.
that made them.
I don't like
And
those songs, but
Dream
I
On
agree.
and Beth will always be linked in my mind, and Rock and Roll All Night will always be linked with Walk This Way. It's just symbiotic.
If you compare Beth and Dream On, I have to say that Dream On to me is one of my favorite Aerosmith songs, but that's because of the way he sings it. I mean, he screams that songs like it's a metal song. Beth is sort of, chilly. Yeah, I mean, when he sits by the piano playing it and Joe Perry stands on the piano playing the solo, I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, but both of them are full emotional songs with desire and hope and passion and all that and longing. So both encapsulate strong emotions and they resonated with people. Last person, Ken, singles.
Yeah, I gave the singles a 2 for a number of reasons. Though I do agree with Shout It Out Loud is the most obvious choice for the first single. I think that's a great song, probably their best anthem they've ever done. Even over at Rock and Roll All Night, I love that song. It's made for radio, catchy, the whole bit. I don't think radio was ready for that one, actually, to a degree. But I disagree with Flaming Youth. That does not give me a, I don't hear a hit single on the, AM radio kind of thing. It just doesn't make sense to me. Detroit Rock City, yeah, that probably should have been the second single, but they should have kept it intact. There's no reason to totally butcher that thing. It's horrible. It's like the worst edit I've ever seen or heard. of a song. It's like, what were they thinking? You could have songs that long. There were songs that, Hey Jude and whatnot, that played over 4 minutes. It's like they could have. I just don't understand it. It's the worst thing. It made it seem like not a good song when you listen to it in that form. So I understand why it didn't do well, because it was so butchered so badly. It's just, someone's not going to get it because you're missing that extended solo section and so on from it, which is really a key part of that song itself. So anyway, that's that. What was the other one? Beth, of course.
Yeah.
Beth probably should have been recorded or been released before Flaming Youth ever was chosen. Who the hell were the guys working for the company that decided to pick Flaming Youth over Beth? I don't understand. Though Beth is not one of my favorite songs. I didn't really want a ballad either. But you got to think of the songs that are playing on the radio that kind of fit in to what was on the radio at that time, as far as ballads go. So it made sense to do it, give it a shot. So they got lucky on that one. So anyway, I gave it a 2. It just because they screwed up so many things, the order, what they chose, and then the butchering of Detroit Rock City.
All right, that's the album overall ranking done. We're going to fast track and really crank it up a gear to go through all the songs. But just to recap, my cumulative score for the album was 43.5. Lonnie loves it the most, 57.75, very nearly perfection for Lonnie. Daniel's also very positive on 51 points. Ken, it falls below me. Wow, that's shocking. 37.5, and then Mark 11.5, 11.5.
What?
Whoa.
So,
11.5. Holy cow.
yeah, so no shock there. Oh, hey, you're still here, watching or listening. Why don't you hit that subscribe button or click the like one? And if you want even more, click on the join button on YouTube. Thanks for your support. All right, so now we're going to get into the songs, and let's go concise and fast because we've just hit the hour mark, and you know how I hate long episodes.
Yeah.
All right, so first and foremost, I'm leaving the intro and outro out. We have ranked that separately, and we'll talk about those at the end. We are strictly going to be talking about the actual songs, not the intro and outro. Rock and Roll Demons is, of course, what the outro is called. And let's see if this can just show up. It's a little bit fuzzy, but as you can see from the test pressing, track 6 on the set on side 2 is Rock and Roll Demons. There's also a handwritten version of that, which also references the same title. So no matter what anyone says, that's the title that I reference it by. All right, let's get into it. In 9th place, on 66.25 points, the least favorite song on Destroyer is Sweet Pain. No shock there. And I kind of said that in my notes. It's been described as a speed bump. But I also think Sweet Pain in some ways being so untouched, it's got no makeup on it. It's the whole pig.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it was a deliberate decision to say, hey, we have to have something that's authentic to the old Kiss while we are creating all this new Kiss music, this new Kiss sound, a new Kiss for a new generation, that they just said, all right, this one we got to leave as hairy guerrilla music for the original fans, as it's the only thing that's really authentic to what Kiss was in 1975 on this album. Not surprisingly, it clashes with everything else on the album in my mind. Daniel, Sweet Pain.
I have to second what you said. It clashes with everything else on the album. And I hate that this song is on the album. I wish they could have put something else there. I gave it 4 points. 30 is the maximum points you can get. So you get it. I don't like this song. And I never got it from the get-go. So remove it, please, and put something else in there, I would have said to Bob Ezrin when they did this record. And like Julian said, it seems like it doesn't fit the album at all, and the lyrics are just hilariously bad. I mean, it's a typical Gene leftover. It's something that could have ended up on the vault, maybe on, one of those CDs. That would have worked, as a, something fun. But on the classic Kiss album that is Destroyer, man, how did this add up on the album? It's my least favorite song on the album.
Lonnie.
I enjoy Sweet Pain. I think it's a good song. I gave the lyrics. It sounds like it, I agree with you guys that it sounds like something that should have been on maybe an earlier Kiss record because it's a more raw. There's more innuendo type of Kiss type lyrics on it. But that being said, it's maybe you would have a different opinion of it if it was on Dress to Kill or Hotter Than Hell or something like that. It had that kind of the sound and that kind of lyrics to it. But I still enjoy it. I think it's still a fun song. It's a great, from Gene singing Great Expectations to close out side one, to have him singing Sweet Pain on side two is far different than what you got on to close out side A. So I still enjoyed the song. It's very different than what the rest of the album is, but I still enjoy it. It's still a fun song to me.
Damn it!
And I gave it 24.75. So far cry from
Whoa.
what Daniel gave it.
Wow.
Jeez.
Oof. Daniel.
I've already told you 4 out of 30.
Oh, sorry. I'm losing track. Mark.
Yeah, a lot of the things that have been said, I agree with. I mean, for a record that they are trying to take a step forward, this song just seems like it was the same old Gene. There was no advancement in this. Lyrically, the same kind of crap that he writes. That's when he's on a bad day. Melodically, it's nothing. There's nothing new or experimentally different on this. So I gave it a 4, just like Daniel. I think it's easily could have been taken off. And again, Mr. Ezrin, Mr. Magician, he didn't work no magic on this one.
Yeah, that might be the contrast that he's saying. You don't want me to do anything with it? Fine. Let's see how it does on the KissFAQ ranking 50 years later.
Yeah,
It was Ken who did this comment, by the way, just to be absolutely clear.
yeah, I love Sweet Pain. That's one of the songs that I liked mostly when I first heard the whole album. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Get straight to it. I guess they could have made it better for the rest of you guys if Bob Ezrin would have put extra treatment to it, because he obviously didn't do anything with it but choose a different guitar solo from other than Ace. But I think he could have had some intro kind of whip sounds and
that would have made it better. Yeah,
some screaming during the song, kind of background screaming and stuff like that. I mean,
you're hurting me.
It might have worked. It wouldn't
Yeah.
be good for the kiddies that were now trying to target on this album to get them into the band, because their parents really aren't going to let them listen to that kind of stuff. Like, what are you listening to? Tommy or whatever. So yeah. So anyway, I like the song. I gave it, though. I mean, my ranking's different than Lonnie's. Mine's actually low. I think lower, but that's fine because my songs all have to be within a certain thing based on my other rankings that we've done already. So, but I still, one of my more favorite songs on the album, 22.5 ranking on mine.
You can't go from Kids with Walkie-Talkies and a boys choir to Moaning Harlots on Sweet Pain. All right. In 8th place on 68.5 points, Great Expectations, speaking of boys choirs. So I don't have a problem with Great Expectations. I actually like what Bob did to it, changing the perspective from the demo or the earlier version. It's fine as a song, but it's certainly not spectacular. Enjoy it on Symphony. Daniel.
I think the problem with the Great Expectations is the difference between the lyrics and the way it sounds. It's almost like if you listen to the lyrics, it sounds like a classic Gene tune. Oh, you see what my hands can do. Oh, you wanna come backstage and do the encores at the hotel. Oh, it's sort of that's in that sort of vein, the lyrics. And then on the other hand, you have the way it sounds with all the bells and whistles sounding like some sort of Mozart or something. You bring everything into the song. So I think it's a clash between the bad Gene lyrics and the way it sounds. So to me, this was never a favorite, and it's other than Sweet Pain, this is the song I would axe from the record. I never liked it. I think it's kind of horrible, but I think it was a bit better than Sweet Pain, so I gave it 8 points.
Wow.
Lonnie.
8 points.
Yeah.
4 and 8. My goodness.
Yep. But then it gets better, Lonnie.
Okay.
Just wait.
That's pretty bad. 8.
I hope so.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Great Expectations. I think the lyrics are fun. I actually kind of like the demo lyrics a little bit better, and he's kind of going through the band and that. I think that's a little more fun than what ended up on the album. So I gave the lyrics a 4. I would have given it a 5 had it been those lyrics. I mean, I remember when I found. Stop laughing at me, you son of a bitch. When I found the demo when I was like 16 years old and I heard them going through the names, I was like blown away. I thought, wow, that's really cool. I still think that's a miss. So I ding a little bit on the lyrics for that because I enjoyed the demo lyrics better. But I still like the production. I still like the grandness of the song. It's so different than really anything else. But I think that's what makes the track fun at the same time, because it is so grand and so different than basically anything.
But Lonnie, isn't it real about a group who wanted to fuck the band and then they made "You Got Great Expectations" and then
that's an excellent point
when you see the wheel, the wiener, yeah.
And that's right.
Is that a hot dog?
Wow. But I still like the grandness of the song going from. And I see Daniel's point. I see Daniel's point that, hey, lyrics over here, you feel what my fingers can do, and the bullet choir singing it is kind of a clash. I haven't thought about it that way before. Well, but that's an interesting take. But I still enjoy the song. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Mark.
Well, this is a great example of two people who are extremely full of themselves. What happens when they work together in a song? Mr. Ezrin with his overly pompous production with all these bells and all kinds of violins and all kinds of other crap, and somebody who's really bad at writing lyrics like Gene, you're sitting in your seat, clutch your breast. Like, please, come on, man. This is terrible lyrics. Unbelievable. But this demon, writing something like that just sounds so watered down. It's unbelievable. I mean, this is one of the songs that immediately when I heard it on the record, I was like, this is so wrong. Like, why is this on here? I could hear something like this, like on Yellow Submarine or something, like a Beatles album, not on a Kiss record. But of course, once again, Bob Ezrin in his infinite wisdom, Mr. Magician, had to come in here and put something so horrendously crap on this album. And I mean, I think I gave it a pretty fair rating, though. I mean, I gave it, for lyrics, I gave it a 1. And for music, I gave it a 2. So a 3 total. That's, I think, the best rating you can give for this song is a 3. Yeah. It's pretty accurate, in my opinion.
Holy cow.
Pretty accurate, yeah.
Ken's speechless. But Ken, it's your turn.
Yeah, well, I mean, That's pretty damn low. Great Expectations. I make 3.5 for the lyrics. Actually, I agree with Lonnie. The lyrics, I always thought, that should have the original lyrics. It makes more sense. Well, why not? When you have in Kiss Alive, the album before it, you have the signed notes from the band members. Why not keep the names in there? I mean, it's just kind of, I think you want to include the fans that way. Not make it so general, like it's just one person kind of thing. So I didn't get that. It didn't make any sense. And then the song, it's a good song. It would be great on a Gene solo album because he writes all kinds of stuff. Now Bob Ezrin, he had the final say. He chose this song to be in there. Gene had better songs than this to put on the record. He did have better songs.
What did they have?
I'm not going to listen my
Like what?
Like what?
I don't know, the beginnings of Bad 11 or something like one of these other ones that they could have made better, with production and making a final thing, but among other things. So I just think it's a production choice that, shouldn't have done. But I think as a song by itself, it's good. I don't like the choir stuff going on in it and stuff. It's over the top. Production again, too much theater going on, I think. And that's Bob Ezrin. I think he brought the song down. It's better more on acoustically. Standing on its own would have been better production. That's just my opinion. I'm not a producer, but
I just have to add, I think it's so silly, but since English is my second language, I may get it wrong, but it feels like there's a person who wants to give Gene a hand job or a blow job, and then there is this sort of pompous feeling with the production, and it totally clashes. It's one of the worst songs that he ever wrote, Gene. I fucking hate this.
It's just
it's so
right
Gene
production.
though.
Yeah,
everything about that song
true.
screams Gene Simmons.
Yeah, but it doesn't fit,
Yeah. Anyway,
Destroyer mold.
19.5 score on mine. So
Too much.
Wow.
Dang.
Very generous.
No matter, Great Expectations really is the Gene Simmons signature song more so than anything else. All right, so moving on into 7th place, and I'm very disappointed in everyone. Beth on 98.55. So Beth falls down as not being one of the majority of the panel's favorite songs on the album, and it's impossible for me to emotionally disconnect from Beth and what it's done for the band in transforming them. I really look at it that way, and I love the emotion of it. So Daniel, you're not going to pull any punches with Beth.
Well, it's a kind of a beautiful song, but to me, Kiss isn't about ballads. Kiss is cool songs like Deuce, Strutter, Tears Are Falling, Heaven's on Fire, Unholy, that sort of type of songs. For me, the ballads was the only reason for a ballad to be on a Kiss album was to bring in the girls, the girls like the ballads. And I think it worked on this album. So I think Beth, to me, the lyrics are pretty bad, to be honest. They are jamming, and someone is trying to get a hold of one of the guys in the band. He's saying, I don't have time. I have to play with the band. Okay, and that's the whole song. That's all it's about. Well, we're playing. Well, you have to wait a minute because we're not through yet. We have to play a bit more. What a fucking lyric. I mean, that's not that great. Of course, it's a beautiful song, orchestrated by Bob Ezrin in a way that make it sound good. And it works, live as a fun thing. But I never liked the song. I would never put it on my playlist and listen to it and go like, yeah, this is the shit. No, that's Deuce, that's Strutter, that's Heaven's on Fire. This is something to bring in the girls, something to please the public, something to, to broaden the spectrum, bringing other people to the Kiss fandom. That's the only reason this song is on the album. But as a song, it's no way near Detroit Rock City or God of Thunder or Shout It Out Loud. Come on, guys. It's no way near it. And I gave it, I don't remember. I think I gave it 16 points. It's at least better than those crappy things called Sweet Pain and Great Expectations.
16 points. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it too much?
Full. Way too much. Anyway.
Okay, let's hear it.
Lonnie.
I think I really respect what Beth did for the band and how it propelled them to what they became. I think Beth really did save the band in a lot of ways. Not only the album, but the band itself. It turned Destroyer into a hit and turned them into more of a household name band and got more people interested in the band, more people wanting to go see the band. Yeah. So for that, and I think it is a very I think it's a great song, and obviously the masses agree because it propelled them into what they became. So I gave Beth a perfect score because of what it meant to the band and how I don't laugh at your takes, dude. I really truly don't. So let me speak. I'm really proud of it.
I'm letting you speak. I ain't saying nothing, man.
I'm not. I don't laugh out loud when you're talking. So please don't laugh out loud when I'm talking about a song that propelled the band into what they became. It is a signature Kiss song, and I gave it a perfect score.
All right, Mark, your turn.
Well, I'm going to say, first of all, that they're very lucky because I can guarantee you one thing. That was not the song that they wanted to be known for when they were making this record. I guarantee you it was Detroit Rock City. It was Shout It Out Loud. They're a rock band. They're not a fucking ballad band. And so I can tell you this, that they're really lucky that they went back in and did Rock and Roll Over when they did to mop up the damage that was done by that song. Because look what happened to Extreme. Perfect example. After that single came out and were known worldwide and became this huge fucking band from it, nobody took them seriously. None of their rock songs after that did anything after that.
Mr. Big,
they were always
Big.
forever. Yeah, they were always labeled as that because of that. So they're very lucky that they went back in and did that record with Kramer afterwards, because then they did, Calling Dr. Love, and they were back on track with what they were supposed to be. Now, I don't have a problem with people loving this song. You can love it all you want. And for a lot of people, it might be their favorite song. Okay, and it did save their butts, which is really disappointing in a lot of ways, because I think that again they wanted other songs to be the thing that stood out on this album, like the Detroit Rock Cities and the God of Thunders and those songs, right? But, for me personally, like I said, I'm not a big ballad guy. I've never really been. So to me, it never ranked high. So I gave it a 3.5. 1.5 lyrics, 2 melody.
I think the success of Dream On contradicts your point of view in some aspects.
That's the
Mark.
only one, probably.
You say that they don't want to become known for Beth. I disagree. I think, again, like I said earlier, that the success of Dream On gives them the confidence to actually put it out there on the B side, and when it gets picked up, to embrace it just as much as their direct competition had a success from the same path. Because prior to Dream On, don't forget, Walk This Way doesn't hit yet either for Aerosmith. Dream On's the first single to really make inroads.
Hey guys, Kiss wants to make money any way they can. It doesn't really matter if it's Beth, Deuce, Strutter, or Love Gun. I don't think the guys care at all. But I think Paul Stanley might have had a problem with Peter Criss releasing the biggest single.
Look, listen to their interviews.
I think he has a problem to this day. with
Yes,
Listen to
I
the
think it
interviews.
is.
So it was the B side of Detroit Rock City, which
Like,
failed.
did you like
Yeah.
those interviews after it came out that they did in that hotel room? They were really trying to, say, let's just move on. This new record that's coming out, this new record, they had issue with it. Just listen to those interviews.
Yeah, come on. His song got butchered. Detroit Rock City, the majestic
Yeah.
leading track from the album, gets
Exactly.
chopped into pieces
Yeah.
Never
And-
came over that.
and erased
Yep.
by Beth. That's got to mess with someone's head. All right, let's
It
wrap up
did.
on Beth. Ken.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it a pretty good score of 23.25. I understand what it is. Actually, I didn't like it when I first heard it on Destroyer. But over time, actually, I enjoy it more now than I did back then. Some songs you just don't get or understand. And even though it's a simple song, simple lyrics, but I understand it. It's good. It was the right song to make it a hit. I guess fortunately or unfortunately, I think we get no rock and roll over without Beth. I think it's Beth is good that we had that, or else we wouldn't have had rock and roll over.
But before
Destroyer itself, in essence. So it's a good song. Not my favorite Kiss song, but it's a good song on a pretty good album. So I'll leave it at that.
But Ken, before we move on, we have
Yes.
to elaborate a little bit about Lonnie's emotion about Beth being pretty upset. People thinking otherwise about Beth I'm so perplexed that Lon is thinking this is the greatest.
It saved.
I
saved
need to hear more.
Destroyer.
I need to hear more from Lon.
The song destroyed.
We know that, but
It saved
we're talking about
Destroyer.
the quality
It didn't
of
save
the
their
song.
career, I don't think.
Do
but,
you really
yeah.
think this is a better song than Forever? And Every Time I Look at You on Revenge?
I think it's a better song than Forever. I don't think it's a better song than Every Time I Look at You.
Okay, then it's
But-
okay. Then we can move on.
So I could go over for Revenge.
I was just a little bit taken aback there.
But it is a great song, and I know that people don't, and I know that even certain Kiss fans don't like it because it's just this ballad song, but it is a great song, and you have to respect what it is and what it did for the band.
Yeah.
Oh,
Still don't like it that much.
since we're trying to upset Lonnie today. All right, let's move on. All right, so moving on, into sixth place, and this is actually stunning that this song is very nearly tied with Beth, on 98.75 points in sixth place. Do You Love Me? And this one ranks pretty highly up on the list. I've loved everything about this song and the story that it tells, where you have Gene Simmons doing Great Expectations. This is the yang to that yin, in Paul Stanley doing the same from that egocentric perspective. So I love Do You Love Me? Daniel.
I have a problem with the egocentric perspective since we've gotten to know how Paul is. This is truly Paul speaking his mind. I mean, everybody needs to love me. Don't care about that Beth thing that you heard from Peter Criss. Listen to this. This is my song. I am the band. This is my band. So I always had a problem with that part of the song, but I think the lyrics are okay, melody is okay. I don't really care for the song. I know this is a song that Eric Singer refers to as his favorite Kiss song because he think it's Keep It Simple. This is the perfect version of Keep It Simple. It's just a simple drum beat going through and the rallying cry that Paul Stanley does, but I think this is not one of the strongest songs on the album. It kind of worked live at times, but it doesn't. I mean, standing against songs like Detroit Rock City, God of Thunder, or Shout Out Loud, I mean, it's way worse. So I gave it 12 points.
12
These are my
points.
people. This is my crowd. Paul's always had that.
Yeah, that's Crazy Nights later on.
That
That's
perspective.
that's a better song to me than Do You Love Me, actually.
Well, I'm glad it's
throwing
not
in
only it's not only me who is ranking this highly, because I gave it 24 points. Lonnie's right up there with me, 30 points again. Lonnie.
I love Do You Love Me? It's classic. I love I love the verses, how it builds from that drum intro. And I think it's the perfect ending song to Destroyer. I mean, minus the outro, of course, but I think it's great. It's fun and it's simple, and that's what Kiss songs really are fun and simple. Just fun songs that kind of get you bobbing your head a little bit to them, like kind of like Lover All I Can almost, or something like that. It's kind of in the same type of vein. I really enjoy it. I think it's a great song. I love the breakdown in the middle. I love everything about it. It's one of my favorite songs when I go to see the band, when I would go to see the band, past tense now, when I would go see the band live and they played it, it would get me fired up, and it gets the crowd fired up, singing it back to them. It's a great song. Absolutely love it.
Nice. I'll be curious on Mark's perspective after his comments on Great Expectations. Mark, Do You Love Me? What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, again, I've always been more pro Paul Stanley songs throughout the history of Kiss. Lyrically, I think this is not too bad. I mean, yeah, it's very look at me, I'm Paul Stanley, I'm great. But I did give it 3 out of 5 because I think that to me it's believable. It's kind of what I would expect from a Paul Stanley song. 3 out of 5. But musically, I only gave it a 2.5, mainly because it is a simple song. I agree with Lonnie with that. And where I think that it really shines, for example, is when they did it on MTV Unplugged, when they took away all the bells and the chimes and all those other things that just kind of make me roll my eyes when I hear this song on this album. When they play it more stripped back on Unplugged, I think that it's such a great song, especially that ending thing that they do at the end, when they kind of extend the ending at the end on acoustic. It turned out really good. If they would have approached it a little bit more like that on record, I think that I would have enjoyed it far more than I do on this one. Again, the production that Ezrin does on this, I think, is just a little too much. He doesn't need all the bells and all that shit that's on there. So I gave it a 10.5 as an overall score.
Ken.
10.5. That's pretty low. Too. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of tired of Do You Love Me, but I gave it a decent score overall. I mean, lyrics are pretty good. 3.75 for me. Melody, good. 3.5. Taste, 3 out of 3. So 21.75. I think it's good. I'm just tired of it. So it's not one of my go-to songs that I gotta go listen to Do You Love Me. That's never gonna happen. It's just gonna, if it comes up, yeah, it's a good song. I enjoy it, but I'm not like over the moon about it. So it's decent, and it ranks. Actually, it doesn't rank that low for me. I only have one perfect ranked song on my list, so we'll get to that.
All right, so moving into the next placing in 5th on 101.5, sounds like a radio station. Let's tune into Flaming Youth and Set the World on Fire. Always loved this song, but the Calliopes destroy it. It just goes on with that stuff. The song itself, the vocal part is fantastic. Flawless, really great, apart from We're Stupid and We're Lazy. But again, the perspective is it's a good.
What happened?
Daniel.
Oh,
it's my turn. Okay. I also like Flaming Youth. I like the lyrics. I mean, as a teenager, this is the way you feel. They managed to explain the way a teenager feel. I like the melody. It's a great song. It's pretty unfortunate they never really gave this song a chance during the live performances. It was never, a song they played through the decades. They started to play it a bit during the end. I know they played it on the cruises and maybe on 1 or 2 tours there at the end. So it kind of worked, but I like the song. I think it's one of the better songs on the album. I actually gave it 27 points. So it's way better than Lonnie's favorite song, Beth.
All right, let's go to Lonnie since you mentioned him.
So I gave Flaming Youth. Daniel re-ranked Flaming Youth higher than I did. I gave Flaming Youth 25 and a half. I really enjoy it though. The lyrics, I gave it a 4.5. I mean, I love the rallying cry. It's really a staple what a Kiss song is, with being young and excited and going out and doing what you want to do type of thing. So I really enjoy that, and I really enjoyed the song. It's just a fun song. It's a great way to kick off the second side of the album. It's a song that kind of sticks with you a little bit and get you fired up. So 25 and a half points. Really enjoy it.
Okay. Hey,
All right,
Mark.
so I guess that leaves me. Again, Paul Stanley singing, it's going to be higher up on my sort of ranking. Lyrically, I gave it a 3 out of 5. Never had the problem with the lyrics. Most of Paul's songs, I don't really have too much issue with. As the albums went on, maybe a little bit more later on, I did with some of the songs like Read My Body and stuff like that. But at this point, his lyrics are pretty dependable, I guess you can say. Again, musically though, I never was too hip on this. Again, like Julian said, those calliopes. Again, the stuff that Ezrin adds to these things are the things that bring it down for me. I just think that they're just not right for these songs at all. Not in the slightest. So just to keep things rolling, I'm going to leave it at that. And I just gave it a 10 because I think musically, Ezrin's production of this just completely derails this song for me.
All right. So me next. Let's see here. Flaming Youth. I give it a 19.5. I think it's a good song. The Gene Simmons inserting the part of the other Gene Simmons song in the middle is kind of a weird thing, but somehow it works. What I don't know if anyone else has thought of this or that I've noticed, I guess, is
He froze.
Oh no, we'll have to come back to Ken in a minute. So we'll be regrouping with him on what's it called? Oh, you're breaking up, Ken. You're back.
Oh, sorry. What happened? Okay, am I back?
Yeah,
you're back. And he's gone. All right, so let's move on to God of Thunder, which is in at 120 points in fourth place. Yeah, Ken, you may want to disconnect and reconnect. I'll kick him out. God of Thunder, 120 points. Lonnie, let's start with you.
God of Thunder. I mean, classic Kiss song, classic Gene song. Great job by, what foresight actually to have Gene sing it, because it sounds so much different on the demo that Daniel mentioned earlier, and just became classic. So it just became classic Kiss Gene Simmons lyrics of just these dark verses. I am the Lord of the Wastelands. Lyrics, I give it a 5. It is absolutely fantastic and dark and menacing signature Gene Simmons song. I already have a couple different 30s on here because I love Destroyer so much that I just gave Melody 4.5 instead of a 5. So I ended up with a 28. So I ended up with a 28.5 for the song. But I'm with Daniel too, that I love the menacing, like, children in the background type thing. I think it makes the song even more just like demonic and scary. So just one of the best Kiss songs ever, and I ended up with 28.5. But if I ranked it tomorrow, maybe it might be even higher.
Yeah, God of Thunder is one of those songs that really illustrates what Bob Ezrin was so good at, and he doesn't even take a credit for it. In transforming that from what it was in demo version to what it is as Gene's signature song also illustrates Paul Stanley's willingness to take one for the team, and something that I always respect about Paul Stanley as an artist.
Yeah.
He wasn't afraid to give up Black Diamond and let Peter sing it. He wasn't afraid to let Gene Simmons sing God of Thunder, and later on that year, of course, he wasn't afraid to have Peter again do Hard Luck Woman. Now, did he take some persuading? It doesn't really matter, because the end result is that he gave up songs that were his and allowed them to become memorable for other members of the group. And that, to me, is the most important thing about God of Thunder. Daniel.
God of Thunder is probably the most perfect Gene Demon character song ever written. And he didn't write that one. And if you go to the second best Demon song, maybe it is War Machine. He didn't write that one either. And the third is probably Unholy. And I don't know how much he wrote when it comes to that song, because Vinnie Vincent was involved. So people understood what kind of songs Gene needed to match the persona. You don't need no Sweet Pain or See You Tonight or that kind of bullshit. You need heavy metal songs. And this is probably one of the first heavy metal songs. Actually, come to think of it, I think this is, if you go back to 1976, I have a hard time seeing any song, topping this one when it comes to heaviness. And just it's like this Frankenstein coming around and singing this crazy tune to you. So I love this song. It's a perfect 30.
Mark.
Yeah, I disagree.
No.
I mean, this song is really good live. Okay, I've always thought that it was fantastic. It was the ideal song for him to do his blood bit and all that stuff. But again, the thing with the kids on the CB walkie-talkies, I mean, that is just so not good. I mean, why he did that, it doesn't, I mean, sorry, you can get pissed all you want, but that doesn't sound scary in the slightest to me when you hear that. It just sounds like a bunch of annoying kids making noise over a song. Lyrically, it's okay. I mean, they did improve it. I mean, Paul's versions of the lyrics was a little kind of even weirder, but this song is, I know what they're trying to do. It was his signature, supposed to be his signature song, but I think that it is not his signature song. His signature song is Calling Dr. Love. That is Gene Simmons, all put nicely wrapped up in a bow. And guess what? He wrote it all. He didn't need Vinny, and he didn't need all these other people to write it. That song he wrote himself, and that, I think, is the trademark Gene Simmons song. So I gave this 2 for lyrics, 2 for melody, 2 for taste. I gave it an 8. I don't think it's just that on album. I don't think it's that great a song. Live, it works much, much, much better.
What the
heck happened to your internet there, Ken? You like to finish your thoughts on Flaming Youth and talk about God of Thunder?
I don't know. The mouse stopped running on the wheel and slowed everything down. But anyway, the Flaming. I'll just quick say the Flaming Youth part is I was trying to say that Alice Cooper did on his Welcome to My Nightmare. I think it was before this album, the Department of Youth song. And these songs are very similar. I just wanted to point that out. So maybe that's why I think Bob Ezrin liked that kind of thing. So anyway, so we're talking about God of Thunder, right?
Yes.
So God of Thunder, I gave a pretty good score, 25.5. 5 for lyrics, because I think they're good lyrics. Melody, 3.5. It's okay. And taste, 3 out of 3. But I think I do agree, though, that it's to me, it's a little slow and plodding. I had a live tube before it. I like the upper, pace, the more pace on it, on the song. And the other thing is, I think it sounds better in concert than on the sound. I mean, it has a lot of effects and stuff. I kind of agree about the kids things in a way. I don't like hearing I don't know what creeps. It kind of creeps me out hearing kids sing on records, like a choir of kids. I don't know, something. It makes me think of Sesame Street or something. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but
Sesame Street.
it bothers me. It just kind of bothers me. It's a weird thing, but anyway. But I think God of Thunder is better live, so that's why it's not perfect. If it was maybe a little bit better pace, I have increased my score.
All right, in third place on 127.25 is the Bubblegum Pop Shout It Out Loud that I used to despise live, but towards the tail end of Kiss's touring life, I really started to enjoy Shout It Out Loud a lot more. It became one of those great kind of anthems that married a lot of elements that Kiss does so well. Lonnie, let's start with you on that one.
Yeah, I ranked it really highly, surprisingly. I mean, it's such a rallying cry, and it's such a fun song when they would play it live. It's again, in the same vein as Flaming Youth, just a stand up for what you believe in type thing, and it's Gene and Paul switching back lyrics. It's what's not to like about it? I mean, it's a signature Kiss song. And it sounds great here. It sounds great live, and it's I ranked it very highly, and we're coming into the cream rises to the top songs here on Destroyer, so it's right there.
Yeah, this one, when I was doing your scores and punching them in, I was shocked that you didn't give it 30. Ken, Daniel, 30. I was like, is Lonnie thinking I've given too many songs 30, so I better take a quarter point off?
Dang it, Lonnie.
I didn't want to be Ken and give everything a 30 like we did a live, so I had to think something a little bit.
Oh yeah, live. Well, that was I did go overboard on that.
Daniel, shout it out loud.
Well, I can see Lonnie putting on Beth on a low volume, stretching out his pinky finger, taking a sip of wine and thinking this is the best song ever. It isn't. This is one of the best songs ever. This is rock and roll. I love the way they did this song. It's very fun to play on a guitar as well. It's a simple song to play, and it rocks. And the message is clear. It can be, anywhere you go around the world, everyone will understand the message of the song, and you want to sing along with it. I'm sorry, I got the hiccups. I don't know what happened. So I'm trying to keep it. Well, to me, the lyrics, perfect Kiss lyrics. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this perfect lyrics, as Peter would say it. And the way it's played, excellent. I love the Ace Frehley solo. I love the Peter Criss drumming. I love the vocals. And I actually enjoy Gene and Paul taking turns in songs, singing the lead vocals. So this is the perfect example of a classic Kiss songs. You can't give it anything less than 30 points unless you're a Beth lover. I mean, then you might see that this is beneath the Bob Ezrin production of Beth. But to me, this is 10 times better than Beth, and it's a classic song, and I'm glad they use it during every single show I think I've seen with Kiss. They played this one, so perfect song. Wow.
Awesome. Ken, shout it out loud.
Yeah, shout out loud. Perfect. I gave it a perfect score. Again, this should have been a hit single, but I think radio wasn't, like I said, ready for it, or the radio stations didn't want to play Kiss in the first place. It should have been a huge hit, in my opinion. But, I think they played Beth, was like, I think almost as a joke to a degree. and it somehow became a hit, because people started calling in.
It's not a yoke to Lonnie.
Well, yeah. Yeah, but I think it was kind of, I don't know. It was just the timing was right, I guess. But yeah, this song is just perfect. Kiss. Everything about it is a Kiss song, from the vocals to the lyrics, the anthem. It's just, again, I like it as being their best anthem. So perfect for me.
Perfect for Mark, because in Canada, Shout It Out Loud was a #1 hit single.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was one.
Mark.
Yeah, it definitely was, but it's not a perfect for me. But I'm saying though, but I mean, come on, really? I mean,
What?
Shout It Out Loud is great. I do love the song. I mean, come on, I even fucking covered it on one of my albums as a bonus track.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do love the song. But I think here is one of the examples where, when we rank these, you have that taste part where it's like 1, 2, or 3. This is where I think sometimes that number 2 is a little bit of a hindrance. If we did it like either 1, you hate it, or 3, you love it, I think some of my scores at least would have ended up differently, because I ranked this a 2 out of taste. But overall, like, I put lyrics, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. Musically, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 too. So that's a 7. If I would have put 3, that would have been a 21, right? But because I don't put this in a 3, I put it in a 2, so it gives it a 14. So right away we're like,
So why didn't
14?
Why didn't you do 2.5 then? If you're in between meh and liking it, that's what decimal points are for.
Well, I didn't realize you can do the decimal point on that. I thought it was just like
Leland loves
right. I thought that was just 1, 2, 3, right? But
you do whatever you want. This is America.
A classic.
Okay, so
classic.
I'll keep that in mind for next time. Well, no, to me the classic is the one that we're going to be probably talking about very soon. Right?
Well.
But I do love this song. I have nothing really, again, bad to say about it. In retrospect, I probably should have gave it a 3, the taste thing, because I'm more on that end than I am on the one end on this song. But I'm still kind of in the middle. I mean, I've heard it a lot. It does believe it or not, it does get played a lot here on FM radio here still.
Yeah.
Shout it out loud. If they say, coming up next is Kiss, then you have 2 chances. It's either Detroit Rock City or this, right?
Okay.
So, yeah, it is a little overplayed here, but, it's okay.
All right.
Overplayed.
Top 2, no surprise. It's going to be one of these, and it's going to be no shock whatsoever that number 2 is King of the Nighttime World on 128.1 points. So what can you say about that? Big, bombastic. It's an illustration of everything on this album in that it's cinematic. It's so visual. It's so powerful. It's so everything. Daniel.
Well, I think the 1-2 punch of this album is very hard to match. I don't know if you have a better 1-2 punch on any album. Well, maybe the first one, but and we all know by this point of time that this was not originally written by Kiss, but it was the perfect cover, so to speak. It fit the mold, so to speak. I mean, this was the perfect song to follow up Detroit Rock City with. So I always enjoy this one. And thinking back, I liked it when they brought it back into the set in the middle of the 90s. It wasn't played during the 80s. It wasn't played during the early 90s.
It was,
but
it's on the Creatures box set played by.
I'm talking about the no makeup era, from Lick It Up to Revenge, and you never played it until I think they started playing it 95, the last year of the non-makeup era in Japan. I remember they played it, maybe in Australia as well. I think they played it at both those places, and it sounded great. And since I'm a 90s boy, so to speak, early 90s boy, I loved that they brought it back, and that made me go back and listen to the record. And to me, it could have been written by Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons. I mean, the lyrics are perfect Kiss lyrics. The melody is a perfect Kiss lyric, perfect Kiss melody. and I like it. So I gave this one 27 points. So I think it's the best cover, if you can call it that Kiss ever did. This is the type of cover they should have done. So 27 out of 30. Great song.
Yeah, I don't consider it a cover because the Hawking Stars hadn't released their version at the time this was changed. Lonnie.
It is absolutely amazing song. I love how it starts off coming right out of Detroit Rock City, and the drums right into it, and the lyrics are such. And I'm with Julian. I don't consider it a cover. I know they didn't write it, but the lyrics are so youthful and inspired.
Yeah,
and it makes you feel alive listening to the song, for lack of a better word. It takes me back to my youth listening to the song, and just feeling powerful and young, and just feeling you can do anything. And it and then the guitars on it are so great. I'm with Daniel too. It's a shame that they didn't play it live more than what they did. I loved when they played it in '96, and it really, they did play it in on the Cyclo Circus tour some too, but it got buried after that, unfortunately. And I think that's a shame for such a great song. I mean, it's just classic Kiss stuff, and I love it. So,
Mark.
Yes. So I do love this song. I've said once before, I think we did. I'm not sure if we did an episode here about the best 1-2 songs. Maybe it was on another live stream we did. Yeah, we did it here. And I did in fact say that Detroit Rock City into King of the Nighttime World is probably one of the best 1-2 punches on a record that's been done. I've always loved this song. I didn't know for a long time that it even was technically another band's song, so to speak.
No.
So to me, that was never really an issue as far as that goes. But yeah, I mean, I think lyrically, it's pretty good. I mean, it's not it's not a 5 to me, but it's really good. Musically, it's really good too. I gave it a 19.5 overall. So it's probably one of the more higher scored songs on this that I have. And I do love this song. I especially loved all the harmonized guitars in here. I think Paul sings really, really well on this song. So it's one of my favorites.
Ladies and gentlemen, a positive pontification from Marcus Almighty. Don't say it never happens when talking about Destroyer.
And I didn't say an ill word about Bob on this one.
Just did.
You just did. Yeah.
I did? What? I just said I didn't.
No, just now. Anyway, all right, King of Nighttime World. Yeah, I gave it a 24, I think. Out of, I mean, it's like my third highest ranking, I think. So, yeah, on this. Yeah, it's a great follow-up to Detroit Rock City on the album. It's, even though it's not a Kiss written song, it sounds like a Kiss song. Just the way it is, that's the type of song that they would write. Unlike on Unmasked, where they did Is That You, which does not sound like a Kiss song to me. So King of the Nighttime World, really good song. I enjoy it. I enjoy it more on Alive 2 when they did Detroit Rock City, King of the Nighttime World on there. That's always been my go-to version for those two songs.
Yeah.
And with absolutely zero surprise, Detroit Rock City is the #1 song on this ranking episode by a clear country mile.
Not the single, by the way. Not the single.
138 points, not the single. The album version, excluding the newscast introduction, which is integral to setting it up to launch the song, but it's not part of the song itself. Lonnie, get us started with Detroit Rock City, please.
It's absolutely amazing. I love everything about it. I love this version of it after the intro the best, because you can hear the car in the background. And it kind of keeps that feeling alive throughout the song, and then you get to the solo, and it's just, you know, one of the best, if not the best, one of the best Kiss solos there
Iconic.
is. And I love it. I love it when they play in South America and the crowd sings along to it, because it's one of those solos that you can sing along to. And even when, you know, people in the States don't do that, but you're still singing along to it in your head when you're at the show, because it is that great. It's basically everything you want a Kiss song to be. Paul's lyrics and Paul's vocals on it are incredible, and it's what Kiss song's all about.
Yep, damn near perfection. Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, Lonnie nailed it. I have to agree with everything he said. What I can add to that is I truly love the Gene Simmons bass line in this one. This is probably one of the favorite bass lines for me that Gene ever did. I love to play that bass line as well. It's fun to play on the bass. And everything is so perfect from the intro. I like the cinematic feel on the Destroyer album. And of course, the solo, the Bob Ezrin solo, we have to say, to be perfectly honest. And the vocals from Paul Stanley, perfect. Just a classic Kiss song with the lyrics works as well. From what I remembered, he kind of got the inspiration from hearing that a Kiss fan actually died trying to get to a Kiss concert, and that's what the lyrics are about. So perfect lyrics, and it's heavy, but still it's sort of poppy. He's finding some perfect middle ground here between heavy metal and pop, and it's 30 out of 30, of course. And I don't remember if it ended up in second place when we did those, when we tried to find out which was the best songs in the Kiss catalog. I think it ended up in second place. It could easily be number one. I think Black Diamond went to number one, but this is a perfect Kiss song.
Mark, Detroit Rock City, of course, excluding the newscast intro.
So this song to me is the classic of the record. I wholeheartedly think that this is the one that should have been the standout, and I think it is. I know in a lot of ways, now that it's all said and done, years later, I think that people almost expect to hear this song as much as they expect to hear Rock and Roll Night, as much as they expect to hear Deuce. I think this is one of those must play in concerts. I mean, I've played it at jam nights several times with other musicians and stuff like that. It's always been a fun song to play. As far as the ranking goes, I gave it a 4 out of 5 lyrics. I think Paul Stanley did a good job on this. I still think, though, that he's written better lyrics than this, but I think it's very strong. Musically, I think it's very strong, too. I gave it a 4 out of 5. The only reason why I didn't give it a perfect 5 is because I don't like the piano in here. I think if Ezrin could have, gotten over himself and just not put that piano in it, it would have been a completely perfect thing. Taste, I gave it 3 out of 3, so I gave it a 24 out of 30. So I think is my highest ranked one out of the whole thing. So I do think this is the go-to song. And now before I end this, I do have to say one thing to my good friend Lonnie in the corner. If I've cheesed you off today, I apologize for annoying you today, but I didn't think it would have gotten to that point. So I do apologize.
That's fine.
I think Lonnie's upset because his team is doing so fucking bad. I think that's why he's in a bad temper. His team has been
I think I
for
pissed
years
off.
now.
Did they trade Burrow?
They didn't trade Pearl.
Just
be respectful. Just be respectful. I let you talk.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Well, to be perfectly honest, as a third part, it was kind of an overreaction from Lonnie. He was, all used up by his team failing for years now. I mean, he's down there, he's depressed, and he's an angry young man.
Lonnie, I'll have to work like 75 hours this week. I'm a little fucking tired.
That helps.
That probably has something to do with it.
That's probably it.
You need to switch job. You can't do that job. It seems like the worst job in history, being an alarm guy in America. Worst job in history.
The alarms are busy at the moment. Let's put it
Hell
that
yeah.
way.
Hell yeah.
So, all right, Ken, did I miss you?
Yeah, you did.
Guys.
All right, so yeah, Detroit XC is great. I give it a 27. It's my second highest ranking on this album. Classic song, great lyrics, great melody, great song. Shame on the record company for butchering the single, because I think it probably would have done better as on the charts had they left it the way it's supposed to be. The production, yeah, it's I like it live better, but it's the car in there and all that kind of stuff is kind of cool that they did with that, and so it kind of gives you the imagery. So again, it's like the theater kind of stuff that Bob Ezrin does. He did the same thing like on bring up Alice Cooper again, Unfinished Suite, where they got the drill going, a guy's getting his teeth drilled and stuff like that. So yeah, the imagery is cool. Just a great song, classic song. It's always going to be a concert staple. If they ever come back, it'll be a concert staple again. I don't think they will, but who knows what's going to happen anymore. But that's a great song.
Yeah, 2 hours and counting. Let's wrap this up. We did do the outro and the intro. We separated them out just to see where they'd fly. Lonnie, quick thoughts on outro and intro?
Don't like them, to be completely honest. I gave them pretty low scores. I mean, not needed. I always thought when I was a kid, I always thought the outro was really satanic when I was a kid. Probably because my mom thought Kiss was satanic. So I thought the outro, I'm like, oh, there must be summoning some kind of demon or something here at the end. I don't know. So I'm not fans of either one of them. I ranked them pretty low. Those rankings are much higher than mine. I probably dropped them way down.
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the intro one as much. It is a little long. I find that one. It could have been better if it was cut in half. But the last one was, I don't know. I don't really understand that one. And just correct me if I'm wrong, Julian. Are there pressings that don't have that at the end?
I don't know. I'm not a vinyl expert. You'd have
At
to
the
ask someone
end?
and Kiss My Wax.
Yeah, I think some of them might have had not have that.
I think
like some different pressings. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's ones that are missing that. Yeah.
And after me waffling about it being called Rock and Roll Demons, I call it outro. There you go. No consistency whatsoever. Daniel, intro and outro.
I think the intro, it kind of sets up the first song. I kind of like that one. The outro, however, I wasn't raised in a religious family like Lonnie, so I was probably an atheist by the age of 10. So I never saw any satanic things in that one. However, I felt it was kind of unnecessary. And then Kiss wanted to do it all over again on Carnival of Souls. If you remember, they wanted to put that outromental at the end, as a secret song. Ooh, so scary. I mean, it's so silly. So I would remove the outro, but I would keep the intro. I think that's a good way to, prepare for the record. And it's very Bob Ezrin, but I think it's kind of nice to have that intro to the first song. I think it works, but you don't want to listen to it over and over again. So you must be able to skip it when you listen to a CD or LP or something. But I kind of like the intro.
Ken.
Yeah, you get tired of the intro after a while. He's like, just get to the song because you have to wait for it, when you're playing.
Just crash down.
Yeah. So I the intro is good the first couple of times, but then after that, it's like, okay, I just want to get to the song. The outro is like, that's a weird choice, to do that. Doesn't make sense. Maybe they should have had a devilish message like Lonnie was talking about, or something that was backwards saying, buy more Kiss albums or give us your money or something like that. But yeah, so anyway.
Yeah, intro goes on when you want to get on with the album, but it sets it up nicely. Again, I would just rather have the crash and get to the song most of the time. The outro would have been great as a loop. Just put that final groove into going on infinity to really drive people nuts and those who fall
Just
asleep
saying rock and
listening
roll
to the
party.
album. Yeah, have that messing up their heads while they sleep. Yeah, they're both part of the art and not so much a part of the album experience for me. So two completely different things. So there we are. There's the rankings. Sweet Pain, Great Expectations, Beth, Do You Love Me, Flaming Youth, God of Thunder, Shout It Out Loud, King of the Nighttime World, and Detroit Rock City. Remember, if you want a chance to win this copy of Kiss 76 by Martin Popoff, KissFAQ at Outlook.com. And just say, give me Destroyer, and it'll be a random drawing on Wednesday, the 18th, I think it is, of March. All entries by noon, random. That's it. Too long. I don't like it when I have to take a pee break in the middle of a show. But there we are. So for now, from Lonnie, from Mark, Ken, Daniel, and myself, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the message board and discuss the topics we've broadcast today. Don't forget to hit subscribe wherever you've listened to this show, and a like would very much be appreciated. We hope you'll join us again, but until then, remember, life's a radio. Turn it up to 10.